Ticks don't show up in a yard by accident, and they don't show up because of one cursed plant. They get carried in. They ride in on mice, on chipmunks, on the occasional rabbit, and on the deer that cut through the back of the property at dawn. Once they're in, they don't spread evenly across the lawn. They settle into a handful of spots that keep them alive, and they wait there. Here's the part that surprises most people. The open, sunny part of your lawn is one of the safest places in the whole yard. Ticks dry out fast in the sun. The risk lives at the edges, the shady, damp, sheltered places you walk past without a second look. A leaf-filled bed against the house. The strip where the mowed grass runs into the brush. The base of a shrub nobody has touched in years. So this is a yard audit, not a panic. 7 spots that quietly raise the odds of a tick hitching a ride on you, your kids, or your dog, and exactly what to clean up, thin out, or move so the yard stops working in the tick's favor. You won't have to tear out your garden to do most of it. Start with why this works, because once you see it, the whole list makes sense. Ticks survive best where humidity stays high at ground level. When the air around them gets too dry, they lose moisture quickly, which is why sunny, open lawn is usually less comfortable for them than shady leaf litter, dense low cover, and tall grass. So ticks live where it stays damp and shaded at ground level. Leaf litter, dense low cover, tall grass. They can't fly and they can't jump. They climb to the tip of a grass blade or a leaf, stick their front legs out, and wait for something warm to brush past. The animals that bring them want the same things ticks do. The mice and chipmunks that carry the youngest ticks want cover to hide from hawks and foxes, damp ground, and food close by. Deer, which carry the adult ticks and move them across property lines, want the same browse and the same sheltered edges. Give one corner of your yard all of that at once, and you've built a tick factory without meaning to. In many Lyme risk regions, especially the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and Upper Midwest, white-footed mice are one of the links that matters most. They're a main reservoir for the Lyme bacteria, and the youngest ticks take their first blood meal on them. So the entire strategy comes down to one idea. Make the yard less comfortable for mice and deer near the places people actually use, and you make it less comfortable for ticks. One more thing, because a lot of people land on a video like this when they're also seeing more snakes. Worth saying plainly. Most snakes you'll find in a suburban yard are harmless, and they're on your side. They eat the same mice and voles that bring ticks in. If you're suddenly seeing more of them, it usually means there's a rodent food source nearby, which is the same thing we're about to fix. So the goal here isn't to kill anything. It's to take away the hidden, sheltered habitat that draws rodents in the first place. Fix that, and you ease the tick pressure and the snake sightings at the same time. Let's walk it, starting with the spot that does the most and gets ignored the most. Spot number 1, the brushy edge where lawn meets taller growth. Ticks aren't waiting in the middle of your mowed lawn. They're waiting in the first few feet where the short grass meets the taller stuff. The unmowed strip along the back fence, the weedy band where the yard backs up to woods or a field, the tall grass behind the shed, the overgrown edge of a bed that crowds a path. That transition line is prime tick territory. It's humid down low, it's shaded, and it's exactly where people and pets brush past. 2 fixes do most of the work here, and neither one costs much. First, keep the lawn mowed regularly, especially along the edges, so it does not turn into tall, damp cover. Short, sunny turf dries ticks out, and that alone makes the open part of the yard inhospitable to them. Second, harden the edge. The move that public health agencies keep coming back to is a strip of wood chips or gravel, about 3 feet wide, laid between the lawn and any wooded or brushy area. It's dry, it's exposed, and ticks don't like to cross it. It also gives everyone a visual line. Once you step past the chips toward the woods, You check yourself before you come back. If your yard backs up to woods, that one strip does more than almost anything else on this list. And near the spots people use every day, the patio, the play set, the path to the garden, push the dense plantings back so nothing wet and leafy is touching where a kid sits or a dog naps. Keep seating and play equipment out in the open, sunny part of the yard, away from the tree line. That edge is where ticks wait. The next spot is where they spend the winter. Spot number 2, leaf litter near the places people and pets use. Leaf litter is the tick's blanket. It holds moisture at ground level through the summer, and it gives ticks a damp, protected place to ride out the winter. A bed of unraked leaves against the shady side of the house, under the foundation shrubs, in the corner under a maple, that's the cool, damp layer ticks need. It's also where mice tunnel and nest. You do not have to obsess over every leaf in the woods at the back of the lot. Focus on the zones people and pets actually touch. The beds along the house, the shade bed beside the patio, the strip along a walkway, anywhere within a step or two of where you sit, walk, or let the dog out. Rake those clear in the fall before the ticks settle in for winter, and again in spring. And get that litter out of the active part of the yard. A mistake a lot of people make is raking the leaves into a pile at the back fence and leaving it all winter. That pile turns into its own warm, damp rodent hotel, right where you don't want one. Bag it. Compost it well away from the seating areas or haul it off. Cleared litter helps, but some of the best cover in the yard is the plant sitting right on top of the soil. Spot number 3, dense shrubs with branches sitting on the ground. A lot of foundation plantings, boxwood, dense low junipers, an overgrown row of anything that hasn't been pruned in years, grow with their lowest branches resting right on the soil. From above, it looks tidy. Underneath, you've got a dark, dry, protected tunnel running the length of the house. Mice and voles love that. They use the unbroken line of low growth as a covered corridor along the foundation. And where small mammals travel along the house, ticks ride in with them. The fix here usually isn't removal. It's airflow and a clean line at the bottom. Lift the skirts. Prune the lowest branches up off the ground, even just a few inches, so light and air reach the soil and the base of the shrub dries out. Breaking that continuous low cover breaks the rodent runway. The shrub still reads as a clean, intentional hedge from the street. It just stops being a sheltered highway at ankle height. Pay the most attention to the shrubs right next to the doors, the windows, the porch, and the walkway. The ones a person or a pet brushes against coming and going. A dense, never-pruned mass beside the front step is worth opening up, before anything at the back of the lot. If there's one shrub against the house you can't remember ever pruning underneath, that's the first one I'd get a hand pruner under this season. Shrubs at least have a shape you can prune. The next spot is a solid mat with no underside you can even see. Spot number 4, thick ground cover mats near the house, patio, or path. A thick ground cover mat is one of the hardest spots to read because from above it looks like a neat green carpet. The action is all underneath. A solid bed of English ivy, periwinkle, or pachysandra grows into a continuous fabric across the soil, and that fabric traps humidity and gives mice a sheltered layer to tunnel through, hidden from anything overhead. Lift the leaves on a hot July afternoon, and the soil underneath is cool, damp, and often crisscrossed with little runways. That's the same protected cover this whole list keeps circling back to. Now, I want to be fair about this because ground cover isn't a villain on its own. A small contained patch in a spot nobody walks through is low on the worry list. The problem is a large, dense, unbroken mat right up against the house, the patio, or a path people use every day. That's where it's worth thinning the planting, cutting it back off the high traffic zones, keeping a clean edge and not letting it climb the foundation or spill into the lawn. A couple of these are worth a second look for another reason entirely. English ivy and periwinkle are listed as invasive in a number of states, and ivy will climb and damage trees and siding if you let it run. So in some regions, scaling back an aggressive ground cover does double duty. Less rodent cover, and less of a plant your local extension office would rather you didn't spread. Check your state's invasive list before you decide how hard to push. Living cover is one kind of shelter. The next one is something a lot of us build on purpose, without realizing what moves in. Spot number 5. Wood piles, brush piles, and old yard debris. A stacked wood pile, a brush pile you've been meaning to deal with, a forgotten heap of clippings against the back fence. These are some of the most reliable rodent shelters in the entire yard. The guidance on this is direct. Stack firewood neatly, up off the ground in a dry, sunny spot, because a loose, damp pile is exactly the kind of place mice move into. And mice are the first link in the chain. Brush piles are worse because they combine the cover and the dampness in one spot, and they usually sit right at the edge of the property, where tick pressure is already highest. The clippings hold moisture, the gaps give shelter, and within a season or two you can have a colony living in it and ticks coming in on the residents. The fixes are simple, and they're free. Stack wood off the ground and out in the sun rather than tucked against the house or the fence. Clear the brush and old debris along the fence line instead of letting it build. And don't park the leaf pile, the wood, or the compost right next to a patio or a play area. The rule that keeps this easy: anything that holds damp and gives cover belongs as far from the living areas as you can manage, and never stacked against the house. Quick note before the heavy hitter: if you'd rather get yard advice that includes the part the plant tag and the garden center leave out, how a plant actually behaves once it's in the ground, and what it does to everything living around it, go ahead and subscribe. That's the kind of thing this channel digs into. Cover gets the rodents to stay. The next spot is what invites them over in the first place. Spot number 6, easy food sources near the house. This one catches people off guard because it has nothing to do with cover. It's about food. Mice, chipmunks, and deer go where the easy calories are, and a lot of yards hand them out near the house without meaning to. The usual culprits: a bird feeder spilling seed all over the ground, which feeds mice far more reliably than it feeds birds. Fallen fruit under an apple, crabapple, mulberry, or persimmon left to rot in the grass. Pet food left outside. Open or overflowing trash and compost. Each one turns a corner of the yard into a feeding station, and the rodents that show up bring ticks with them. Fruit and feeders also pull deer in close, and deer are the animals carrying the adult ticks across the property line. You don't have to cut down the apple tree or give up feeding birds. The moves are smaller. Rake up fallen fruit through the season instead of letting it sit. Use a feeder with a tray that catches the spill. Clean up underneath it, or simply pause the feeder in the warm months, when tick activity is highest and the birds have plenty of natural food anyway. Bring pet food in. Keep trash and compost closed and away from the house. The point is to stop running a free buffet 10 feet from the back door. I'd like to know what your yard is up against. Drop your state in the comments and tell me which of these spots you've got the most of: the brushy edge, the leaf beds, the thick ground cover, the wood pile, or the feeder. The risk looks different in different parts of the country, and I read what people are seeing. Those 6 cover most yards. The last one is the heavy hitter, the spot with the most research behind it, and the one most likely to be quietly running the whole problem. Spot number 7, invasive thickets that shelter mice and deer. Some plants don't just provide cover. They're so good at it, and so good at sheltering the animals that carry ticks, that researchers have actually measured the difference. The clearest example is Japanese barberry, the dense, thorny shrub with reddish foliage that got planted across American suburbs for decades as a tough, deer-resistant hedge. Researchers at the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station studied it for years, and the headline number is striking. In the Connecticut forest plots they studied, areas with established Japanese barberry averaged roughly 12 times more Lyme-infected black-legged ticks than similar areas without barberry. The reason is the whole chain we've been talking about, packed into one plant. The thorny tangle keeps predators away from white-footed mice, so the mice nest in it safely. And those mice are a main reservoir for the Lyme bacteria. And the dense foliage traps humidity. The air at ground level under mature barberry can sit close to saturation overnight, well above the level a tick needs to keep from drying out. Out in the open, a tick can only stay active part of the day. Under barberry, it can wait for a host almost around the clock. More waiting time means more bites. The follow-up work had a hopeful side, too. When crews cleared the barberry, tick numbers dropped substantially and stayed low for years, though the shrub and the ticks did creep back over time, so it's worth rechecking the spot every few years rather than treating it as one and done. Barberry isn't the only offender. Multiflora rose, the thorny, arching, invasive rose that forms thickets on the back edges of a lot of older properties, gives deer a sheltered place to bed down. And where deer bed, the adult ticks come with them. Invasive bush honeysuckle, especially Amur honeysuckle across the Midwest and East, does the same thing. Studies have found more ticks and more infected ticks in honeysuckle-invaded areas, largely because deer use those thickets so heavily. When researchers removed the honeysuckle, the deer activity and the infected tick numbers came back down. Here's the practical part. These are invasive in much of the country. Barberry is already banned for sale in a number of northeastern and midwestern states, so clearing them helps your yard and your region at the same time. They are tough to remove, and cutting alone usually triggers regrowth, so this is a fall and winter project and sometimes a two-season one. And you don't have to leave a bare hole. If you want the look back, there are native stand-ins. Winterberry holly gives you the red berries without the thicket. Native shrubs and clump-forming native grasses fill the space without building the same dense, humid hideout. Check what's recommended for your area before you replant. If you've got an old barberry or a wall of invasive honeysuckle on the property line, and you're trying to decide where to start with all of this, that's where I'd start planning a fall or winter removal project. One thing to keep in mind before you go changing anything. Tick species and the diseases they carry are not the same everywhere, and your local risk shapes how hard to push. The black-legged tick, the one that carries Lyme, is mainly an eastern half and upper Midwest concern. In the South and across much of the East, the Lone Star tick is the aggressive one you're more likely to meet, and it carries a different set of illnesses. Out west, there's a western cousin of the deer tick, and a lot of the country deals mostly with the American dog tick. The Gulf and parts of the Southeast have their own. The good news is that the yard logic doesn't change with the species. Damp, shaded, sheltered cover, plus a rodent or deer food source equals more ticks wherever you live. But for what's actually active in your area and what the local diseases look like, your state health department and your county extension office are the people to ask. They track this by region, and they're free. And one line I'll repeat because it matters. Nothing here is medical advice about a tick bite. If you find a tick on a person or a pet, the CDC and your doctor or vet are the right call for how to handle it. So here's the simple version you can use this week. Pick a dry afternoon and walk the yard once, slowly, looking at it the way a mouse would. Start at the back edge. Is there a strip where the mowed grass runs straight into tall stuff or woods with nothing dry between them? That's your 3-foot wood chip line. Then work toward the house. Are there leaf-filled beds against the foundation or beside the patio? Rake the ones you actually walk past. Are the low shrubs by the door sitting right on the soil? Lift the skirts. Is there a thick ground cover mat, a wood pile, a brush heap, or a feeder spilling seed near where the family sits? Move it, thin it, or clean it up. And if there's a barberry, a multiflora rose, or a wall of honeysuckle on the property line, mark it for fall. You won't get to all 7 in a weekend, and you don't need to. The yard doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be drier, brighter, and less sheltered in the few spots where people and pets actually spend time. Do the edge and the high-traffic beds first, because that's where the contact happens. If this is the kind of yard advice you want more of, the real reasons behind what to keep, what to cut back, and what to pull, subscribe and it'll be here when you need it. Your yard is supposed to be the place you relax, not the place you worry about. A few changes in the right spots go a long way toward keeping it that way.